Well, it's hard to believe that there was a time when pizza was a novelty in our region. But the American obsession with pizza really began when the GIs returned home after World War II, bringing with them a taste cultivated in post-war Italy. Not long after, Mineos set up shop in Squirrel Hill in the heart of the city of Pittsburgh. And Mineos has been at it ever since, celebrating 50 years this year, just as Pittsburgh celebrates its own 250th. Dominic Mineo is a co-owner of Mineos Pizza House, and John Mineo is also co-owner of Mineos Pizza House. And welcome. Good to see both of you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, well, it's a great story. I know as someone who lives on the east end of Pittsburgh, Mineos is one of those favorite haunts, I think, for all of us in desperation for a quick bite or a great pizza. How did it come to be there in the first place? It was your dad's.
Yeah, my father started the business in 1958, September 13th, 1958, actually. He was over here. He had married my mother, and he was working for my grandfather, who was a huckster at the time, huckstering through Squirrel Hill, Shadyside, Oakland area. And he was actually on a streetcar coming up Murray Avenue and saw an empty storefront and thought he'd take a whirl at it and get into the pizza business.
Now, did he have a lot of pizza background at the time?
Not much of the pizza background at all. Actually, he came from Sicily, and he actually worked, as Dominic was saying, with my grandfather. And he was working on the railroad also. And that's the way he would come home from Homestead, would be up the trolley, up Murray Avenue, and then head over on to Forbes, because he lived in Oakland with my mother.
So this is what? He sees an empty storefront, and what made him connect that to, I'm going to open a pizza shop?
Well, he actually first had the idea. He had some bakery background back in Italy. He used to work in bakeries, so he was actually going to open a bakery. And went to visit a friend of his in Chicago who came over to this country the same time he did. And he went up there to visit him, and he says, you know, I started this pizza business, and it's really taken off, and it's doing real well. He says, there's 1,000 bakeries all over the city. Why don't you try something different? And so when he came back from Chicago, he saw the storefront and had the idea, I think I'm going to give it a whirl with pizza.
And in those days, we should make it clear, there were not a lot of pizza shops anywhere around here.
No, my father said there was probably Beto's in Oakland on Bates Street, I think, is the only one he can remember at the time. Back in the late 50s.
That is amazing. You know, pizza is such a part of our culture nowadays. It really hasn't been that way all that long in relative terms.
Right.
Well, what is it? What do you think the secret was? I mean, there's obviously a couple of secrets here. One is success in the first place, getting it off the ground with a novelty food at the time that a lot of Americans weren't interested in, and then also the secret of survival for 50 years. First off, yeah, how did Mineos break through and kind of get people to have a love for pizza?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because from time to time, and if you're familiar with Squirrel Hill, it was a prominently very ethnic Jewish neighborhood back then.
That's the other, yeah, it's not the Italian neighborhood.
No, it's not.
It wasn't Bloomfield.
Should have opened up in Bloomfield, not Squirrel Hill, but it paid off very well. At the time, he would open up, and if you got to know my dad, he was a very personable person, loving man, would reach out to everybody. And I think when you walk into a family business and you get a feel for someone like that, you know, you appreciate their hard work. And he did work a lot. He worked, you know, back then we were closed Sundays. Monday through Saturday, he was there 15 hours a day. We only saw our father on Sundays, you know, when he had a day off. But he put a lot of hard work in, and he used the best of everything he could find, fresh ingredients. Everything was made fresh daily. We do a tremendous amount of prep work every day. And I think that's what sets us apart from your chains and other locations like that. They're more into using pre-made sauce and ready-made dough and grated cheese and stuff like that. We do that all from scratch on a daily basis.
Every day, the old-fashioned way.
Yes, a lot of prep.
So what time do you all show up for work? Or people have to start the process to be able to operate because you're open late?
Around 8:30 I usually roll in,
Okay.
and we open up at 11, so that gives us time to make dough and prepare the sauce and grate the cheese for that day.
It's got to feel good. Now, I guess the other question, too, we only have a minute or so left, is why there's two locations, right? You have Squirrel Hill, and you have a location out in Mount Lebanon. It would think with 50 years at it, you'd have your own national franchise business at this point.
Yeah, our main concern is the quality. We're concerned about keeping the quality that we have a reputation for having, and that's our main concern. But we are possibly looking into opening another location or two and that's probably the route that we'll go. We're just concerned about the quality of the product.
Really knowing the business, keeping the tradition alive.
Right. And Bill, we're also FedExing pizzas all over the country right now, so that's been really, every year it keeps on growing, that business, that side of the business, and it's really making a lot of people that have to move away from the city happy that they can have their Mineos Pizza at their Steelers Sunday, you know, so it's been
That's
really,
really cool.
really good for us.
Serving the Steelers
Making
Nation
people
as
happy.
well as Squirrel Hill. Well, congratulations on 50 years. It's a great story for Mineos and for our region. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in a minute with a little dollars and cents. Stay with us. If you're looking for more information about segments on our region's business, or if you want to revisit a favorite interview, have we got the resource for you. Many recent segments of our region's business are now available as streaming video on the internet. There's a special section devoted to our region's innovators, and a featured segment will appear each week on the home page of the Allegheny Conference on Community Development. There are several ways to find the archive at ourregionsbusiness.com, at AlleghenyConference.org, and of course through the homepage of our partner in producing this program, WPXI.com. Please take a look and let us know what you think.